Whoop, whoop, whoop. What's going on? Cierra G. Wiles checking in. Your trend-setting coach helping you guys make better career decisions. I am ecstatic and excited about this conversation today. Babe, you ready?
Why?
Guys, I'm excited about this conversation. This is getting ready to be phenomenal. Of course, you guys know I'm doing my housekeeping right now, just trying to share it. Please make sure you share this broadcast. Help us continue to spread knowledge, help people to gain the exposure that they need in order for them to excel and propel in their careers. And just help us continue to grow this platform and use it for God's kingdom, and just continue to spread it throughout the nations. And we appreciate you guys supporting us and tuning in. So I have the absolute privilege, opportunity to interview my husband, my best friend, my confidant, my life partner, Mr. Jonathan Wiles. What's going on, babe?
What's up, man? What's up?
Oh man, this is definitely a long-awaited opportunity. We have waited a while to do this, and I'm excited because I feel like the timing is like it's perfect. It's right on time. I really do. I feel like it's right on time. So I actually want to jump right into our conversation today. Now, we're letting the people know we are going unscripted.
Transparent. Unscripted and transparent.
Yes.
Blind
Leading the blind. Well, we ain't blind, babe. We do have vision. I can't say that we have a lot of vision.
Right.
Yeah, but we're going unscripted because we want this to be a very transparent. We want it to be a very safe and open space for everyone, and we're just going to talk through a lot of things. So first and foremost, let's talk about this. Let you introduce yourself to the people.
All right, sound good. I'm Jonathan Wiles, CEO and operator of New Venture Grading and Construction.
All right.
That's me in a nutshell, real quick.
Real quick. Give it to them real quick.
Yep.
Nothing extra, no padded layers.
Nah, that's just it. That's it right there.
I love it. Okay, so one of the first things that I feel like we have a lot of these conversations about being different.
Yeah.
And you knew growing up that you were very different, that you think differently, you move differently. I just feel like in every aspect of your life, you have always been one that has been set apart from a lot of your other peers. So can you talk about that, babe?
Yeah, I can talk about that.
Different? Okay.
So for being different, I think being different comes with a lot of rejection. And I think that's the biggest thing that you have to carry up front, because that rejection of being different, it doesn't feel comfortable. It has never felt comfortable. And it took probably 30 years to where I just got to the place to where I'm just now being comfortable with being different and being fully who I am, and trusting that God has instilled all these different things into me. So with being different, I would say I didn't really realize it until probably 25. I think it'd be a safe number to say that I really felt and recognized that I was different. You still on the screen?
Yes, I'm still here, babe.
Okay. You put it all over me. I'm like, oh Lord. Okay. But bringing it back, for me, I would say elementary school is where I found out definitely that I was different. And I honestly, I believe people recognize that you're different before you ever get the understanding of your difference. In that, what I mean by that is a lot of times in high school, because you're so different and you move different and you think different, sometimes you go through a lot of ridicule or bullying, and you don't know necessarily how to handle those things. So it makes you seclude yourself and just really become introverted sometimes, and some people become extroverted to handle the difference, and they conform to what other people do to kind of normalize themselves. But I think there was always that place to where I felt like my parents, they allowed me to just be safe and create that safe space for me to be different. And also encouraging that, like, my dad would always tell me, he's like, you man, don't worry about that. Like, you have a lot of different talents, and later on down the line, you'll see, like, there'll be different jobs that you'll get that they won't be able to get, but it's because you have all these different talents, because you're different, and because you catch on to things at a faster pace versus trying to slow yourself down.
Oh, that's so good. That's real good. I'm thinking about, even students, because that's, of course, my platform is really to help educate students
Right.
as well as the professionals who are overseeing and shepherding students with better career decisions. And a lot of times, I think that's a conversation that's very overlooked, because there's a lot of students who are very different, who feel that they don't fit in with their peers, who deal with a lot of ridicule and deal with bullying on a very, very harsh level. And I feel like you can speak to that. Like you can directly speak to those students who have walked through that or still walking through that. Can you talk a little bit about, what that looked like for you, and how are you able to, like, press past, getting bullied and dealing with some of that peer pressure?
Yeah, so pressing past that, I would say there's a place to where I say in elementary school, there were times when I actually wanted to kill myself. I'm not trying to get too dark or anything, but the
Yeah.
weight of it, of being so different or having to carry that weight, it built a lot of silence in me, and resolute,
Mm.
to where it's like I don't really want to talk to anybody, or I don't really want to let anybody know what I'm dealing with on a daily basis. I remember my mom would always ask me, how's your day going? I'm just like, it's fine, it's good. You go to that almost robotic response on a daily basis
Mm.
to say, I just want to get through, because I don't know what
Right.
tomorrow is like from carrying this weight
Mm.
of this gift. And it really would bog me down a lot, uh, being transparent and being honest about it. But allowing other students to get through it and telling them how to be encouraged, you got to break it. You got to break it silence. That's the honest to God truth.
Yeah.
And that probably didn't come until I was in middle school, to where I was able to just find somebody to where I could actually bear a lot of that, of what was going in my mind and what I was thinking, and understanding, like, this is who I am. Because it's one thing, like, to be into different things. Like, for me, I might have been into a lot of cartoons, and it took me a while to actually grow into, like, more adult things. Um, but then it's also different. Like, I felt like my race kind of rejected me too, which was so weird, because it's like,
Mm.
as a black man, you want to gravitate towards your fellow African Americans, but to feel shunned or pushed away because, like, you're smart, or you're actually encouraged to go out and get good grades, or to do things like that, to continue to better yourself, and not just think of the right now, but always think forward. Like,
Mhm.
that's something that my family was huge on education. So it's like it was always instilled in me at a young age to say, always keep this in or always keep the end in the beginning. So never forget about what your end goal is that you're trying to get to. So education was probably a huge thing in my family, to where we always focus on that.
That's so good, because I feel like that gives perspective to continuing to have a vision and continuing to have a plan.
Right.
And I think that a lot of times when students are dealing with some of these pressures, because they don't have a plan and they don't have anything, to hold on to, that it's hard for them to go to that next place, because they lack what may be in the future for them, because they're
Right.
looking at the present situation. So I think that is amazing. And so even just encouraging people who may be watching this live, if you are supporters of students or parents, or, whatever the case may be, having a vision, having something that you can look forward to into the future, allows you to be able to excel through some of the things that you're going through, those adversities. It helps you to hold on to something. So I think that is amazing.
Yeah.
One of the things, actually, babe, this is a great conversation. I want you to talk about your different talents and skills.
All right.
Like, because sometimes, you can have different skill sets, and you can start to realize, like, not everybody has the same, skills or
Yeah.
interests that I have. Can you talk about that? Because that's
Yeah.
really what we define or what we see as being different.
All right. So I'll start off with music and art was probably one of the first skills that I learned and that I appreciated
Mm,
heavily. And it was just a place to where it's like, okay, I remember I had a counselor that kind of told me, he's like, oh, that's just a dream and that's just something that you can just go after. But it's always been a consistent passion. But if you look in STEAM, the science, technology, engineering, the A is for arts. So it's like
right.
when you have somebody that's so attracted to arts, it's probably because it's something there that's grabbing them. And I think a lot of people don't realize that in that rhythm and syncopation that comes with arts and all the creativity that's in arts, that also drives innovation and that pushes people outside of their comfort zone. So a lot of people that are into arts are also into different sciences. And
Yeah.
that's what makes them different because they're not afraid to expose or to be exposed to different uh, ventures. Um, so I think in that was one of the things early on. I realized that was a talent. That was one of the things I was kind of like really kept quiet about that I actually enjoyed a lot of. But I would also have to give it back to my grandparents and my roots. My family, my dad's side, they actually did a thing called scrapping pig iron, which is scraps from scrap metal on a hill in Cincinnati. So in doing that, that led to them having a lot of hand traits. And just growing up listening to a lot of the stories about my grandfather, how he had his own construction company. My uncle had his own construction company. So a lot of times in the summers, like or even during the school year, sometime too, I'm outside working. Like it wasn't something like to where it's just like, oh yeah, you can just go in and play video games or go play basketball. It's like you were actually working, and that was like a consistent thing that we always did. Like I think one of my fondest memories and earliest memories is walking on railroad ties as we're putting them in at a subdivision. And between that, are either cutting grass with my grandfather and falling off the lawnmower. So it's those little things that they were instilling in me at a very early age and having a work ethic. And then it's like as I've gotten older, like I've realized like I'm just camped around a whole bunch of people that are into trades. Like my mom's dad, he was a brick mason. I never even knew that until like I was probably 14, 15. So it's like he would be calling me over there in the summertime, like, hey, I need you to come lay these bricks and put up this retaining wall. And I don't understand why I'm doing this or what he's trying to teach me. Little do I know he has all this skill that he's trying to just instill in me at a young age, to just pour out his knowledge into me, his wisdom. Um, so from that, there was always a passion. I think for me, like I always got stuck on the Discovery Channel growing up, especially in middle school. And the things that I would get stuck on was like American Chopper or like anything that was definitely car related at the time. But the thing that was very interesting about those shows, all of those men on those shows were very skip gifted tradesmen, whether they were welding or if they were using machine tool or anything on that order. So that always kind of fueled me to be intrigued, where most people, they were probably doing something completely different. So it was just, you're trying to keep up with everybody else, but on the other side, you're really just different and you're
Yeah.
odd, you don't fit in, you're uncomfortable, and you can't really find those connections and have those conversations with other people that aren't really into those things because it's tough.
Right. Right. Oh, this is so good because I feel like a lot of times, like growing up, I feel like in our community, in the people that look like us, they shun or they look down on trades.
Right, right,
And I'm not understanding exactly why, because there's so many tradesmen. We know people who have construction companies, plumbing companies, they're electricians or welders, or, they have their own farms.
right,
And, these are agricultural and trades that we need for everyday life.
right.
We need these businesses for everyday life. And I remember just reading an article about, where the business and where the foundation of business is going for trades. And it's
Yep,
very unfortunate because we don't have a lot of young people who are specializing in trades. And so
right,
this forces us as a community, as well as economy, it forces us into spaces where we have to go and pay corporate dollar pricing
yeah,
for these companies because we don't have enough people that
right.
is replenishing these roles. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because like I know we've had a lot of conversations about even general contractors, plumbers, and stuff like that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Man, I can't lie. Like, without talking about that, I have to let go of the arrogance that I had, because I ain't gonna lie, my nose was stuck up in the air about trades, like, for the longest. And I think it honestly happened around middle school when I got exposed to engineering. Engineers are some very biased people. Like, they believe that you should, like, do this, only this, and anything outside of the box. And we're prideful too. Like, just
Right.
being honest, like, you carry this self-esteem about yourself when you get that engineering degree, because you stretch your mental capacity so much that you love your intellectual prowess, and you praise yourself about that. And you really need to take a humble pill sometimes and kind of put yourself back in check. But it's
Yes.
because you value that so much that you miss, like, the trade part of how it actually gets done, how it gets performed. And that's
Right.
like one of the biggest things going, is like the machinist and the engineer never really get along, because the engineer can just say, "Oh yeah, do it like this," and they never have a common sense thing to themselves, to where, well, if you look at most cars, like most people, if you hear them talk about their car, they're always disturbed, like, why is this part so tight and I can't even get to it? And it's because some engineer didn't put it in the right spot, or didn't have enough decency to go over and have another conversation with somebody else in a different department to say,
Oh,
"Hey,
that's good.
how does this affect you?" So, and it's
Right.
the same with machinists, that the technical people, in a sense, because they look at the engineer and say, "This doesn't make any sense what you're trying to do. Like, it's
Right.
great in theory, but, and I understand you're trying to push the envelope, but it's not possible to do." I think now technology is just now getting to a place to where it can kind of catch up with some of the design ideas that they have, but for the most part, sometimes they really do struggle with that. Trying to answer your question. Give me the question one more time. Some more.
Just talking about like you so silly, babe. Talking about how replenishing, um, how young people really could be replenishing the workforce
All
in
right.
trade. Yeah.
Okay. So I actually bumped into a contractor at a grocery store one time, and he was telling me that for every one for every five contractors, general contractors that leave the marketplace, only one of them is replaced. So
Wow.
that right there tells you there's a deficit for
Hmm.
skilled workers, or skilled, I wouldn't even say laborers, because at that point, like, yeah, you can start off as a laborer. It's so many different ways to get into a trade, to be honest. Like, whether it's your imagination, whether you start off as a laborer, but ultimately you have to have the end goal to say, you know what? And if you have that aspiration to where you really want to drive to be more, I think that right there is one of the biggest things that unlocks it for people, is not settling and not being comfortable in a place to where it's like, I'm gonna just take what the world gives me, or I'm gonna just
Right.
take, actually no, it's not even the world. I'm gonna just take what somebody else has for me, and I'm gonna be okay with that. Whatever
Right.
you're telling me that I can be, instead of saying, you know what, I'm gonna take some ownership, and this is what I want to do with my life. Um,
Right.
so I kind of want to segue just for a second. So I
Yeah.
remember I had this one internship, and this guy came out of the. This is probably the most disgusting thing that happened to me in life. This guy came out of the bathroom after he was just got finished using the bathroom. Didn't hasn't even washed his hands. Comes over, touches me on my shoulder, and says, "You're gonna be a great engineer for my company, sir. You
Wow.
just messed up all the way, because, like, for me, I
Wow.
can't stay here because you just touched me with your dirty hands." So like, from now on, my whole perception of you is jaded. Where I'm going
Right.
with that is to say, people will only put you in a box that they can see you in, and in the facet that they can see you working at for their company.
Right.
At the end of the day, as long as you work for somebody else, you're always going to have that perception, or be used as a tool to help them grow. I think one of the best things my grandfather ever told me was, "How do you be a man that has everything?" And I went through like 1,000 different answers and questions, and just to respond to his answer. He's like, "That's not it, man." I'm like, "So what?" Like, after I'm like, "All right, I'm tired. Like, it's getting late. What is the answer to this question?" He's like, "The only way to be a man that has everything is to take his money to your bank." So that right there is just saying, like, yeah, you may go to a job and work 40, 50 hours a week, but at some point, you have to take some of that time that you've invested in his company and put it back into your own company.
Right. I think that is one of the things now you're seeing where people are becoming, um, entrepreneurs in a different space. Like it's so much in that traditional sense to where everybody's like, oh, I'm going to up and quit my job and I have no plan.
Right,
Like
right,
now you do see it to where people are really being strategic about planning their next moves and how they're going to do it, and they're becoming smart about it, and I think that's brilliant. I think it is the most effective way to step into entrepreneurship. And of course you have to get in there, like Miriam said. Once you get in there and you start flexing that muscle, then you can really use it. But I think that preparation stage is very necessary, because I think a lot of times, like, we don't think about, as far as in our community, how much capital really resonates. Like,
right,
we have to have capital to start businesses.
right,
And that's
right.
just the bottom dollar, bottom line. So, like, that advice of what you just said, like, it aligns with it.
Yeah. I think, even being transparent about our situation, like I haven't fully stepped out into new venture 100%, but I feel like
Right.
every day I feel the burn. Like every day I feel it like just pulling on me, like it's pulled at my fiber. Like,
Right.
boy, I can't wait till this thing fully takes over and I can just leave this
Right.
place. But it's as a man, I can't speak from a woman's perspective, but for a man, like order for me is everything. Taking care of my household is everything. So I'm not gonna put us in a situation to where it's like, oh, I'm not giving you guys the advantage because I wanted to go out and put in not take care of my household. Like we have
Right.
bills, I have responsibilities. Like first and foremost is you and Emerson. So anything
Right.
after that, like like I always tell you, like my main goal is we're not sleeping in a cardboard box. So like I don't care. Like that's
Right.
that's that's a non-negotiable. So
Yeah.
whatever I have to do as a man, that's what I'm gonna do to make sure that we're straight, you know. And anything else after that, like it'll get there. So it's
Yeah.
sometimes you have to let me step back, take a breath, let me recalculate this thing. Maybe I don't do like and being in school. I'll go from this too. Being in school at the same time, sometimes like there's times when you have to. Okay, I'll go a couple semesters and I'll
Right.
pause. I'll go.
Right.
I'll take another pause, and that time I'll find a job or do something else that's going to help me bring in some extra income, so that way I'm
Right.
not making my family suffer. And so many different ways to get strategy. You just have sometimes you
Mhm.
really have to just humble yourself and pray for it. It doesn't like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if I get there 9 years from now or tomorrow. I still got there. And I feel like it's the
That's
same way
it.
with a degree. Like it doesn't matter if you have an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree. At the end of the day, both of those things are pieces of paper. They give you a little bit different money. And to me, like to be honest, if you're gonna get an associate's degree, my uncle put it to me this way. He's like, "What's the difference between an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree?" I was like, "I honestly don't know." He said, "An associate's degree means that you can go to work faster versus somebody with a bachelor's degree.
Hmm.
Granted, you go to work faster, you may make less income, but depending on if you pick the right career, you're gonna compensate for that money that you just missed out on. So where this
That's
person is over here making 30,000 or 40,000 for a couple of years, they still waiting to get their paycheck. So now you
right.
got two layers up on them. It just, but it also depends on the type of major that you pick too.
Right. Because the thing is, I think a lot of times it's, I even say this to students who always tell me, oh, I'm going to go to, a 4-year university and I'm going to go and get my bachelor's and I'm going to go to school for nursing. And the first thing I always say is, but you can go to a 2-year college and become an RN.
Hmm.
So, sometimes we have to try to figure out what's the difference, because if I can go 2 years, go ahead, go into my career, start getting the experience that I need, then that allows me to excel a little bit faster. And then as I'm doing that, if I want to add on the bachelor level to my associates, then I can do that. And you can do that online now. And so I think it's all about strategy and how we're thinking about pursuing careers.
I'm gonna be very honest. For me, I went to Clemson, struggled like heck to get there, um,
Mhm.
and it's crazy because when I finally got there, I remember sitting in fluid dynamics, and I'm sitting there like, it's so much other stuff that I can be doing instead of sitting here right here in this class, wasting my time. And
Right.
it's crazy because I was just sit there and just like I'm focused on it, but in my mind I'm in a completely different other place. And I just remember like, you know what, my technical school had the same degree. And I think it was also because I had that exposure from those two internships to where I could fully see like what engineering was at the end of the day.
Right.
Like to me, after I got exposed to it, not to say like I just realized that engineering was nothing but project management. Like, and most engineers, they never get to that full place to where they're actually engineering and driving something. And I did not
Right.
want that. I didn't want to be the guy that's sitting back saying, you know what? I designed the door handle to that car. Like,
Mhm.
that may be okay for somebody else, but for me, I would never be satisfied with saying, yeah, I designed a cup holder or I
Right.
designed like
Right.
the emblem to go to the steering wheel. Like, that's not me. Like, for me, it was just, I'm too hands on. I'm too personal. I want to direct things too much. So I said, you know what? I'll just let this go. And I'm like, it probably looked crazy to people to where it's just like,
Right.
this man has spent like the last decade trying to get a bachelor's degree and he's just going to stop cold turkey and go switch to another route. But they didn't
Mm.
realize like what I saw in that route was like, okay, if I do this, I can spend a year over here at this school, get a degree, and then turn around and go to another school and having the conversations with the admins and the advisors over there. And I think you should always do your homework and your research to make sure things line up to where it's like, okay, yeah, you can go to both schools at the same time and then come out with a bachelor's degree. And I'm saying, I'm
Right.
like, why am I? And then I'm gonna be doing the same thing at the end of the day. It's like if I keep beating my head and pounding sand to get to the same place, and I can get over here faster.
Right.
Granted, I didn't get peace at that either. So it's like, and that I think that was a blessing too. Like going to making that transition, I think was a beautiful thing for me because
Mhm.
I actually found my passion in the
Mm.
process.
Oh man, now you're talking about something because like I think like for us walking throughout that journey and seeing how God completely like had you in one direction. Like I came into your life when you were at Clemson.
Yeah,
And so to see it now to where God is like, because that was one of the, I tell you that all the time, like, babe, like degree, who you? Like, because I am a firm believer, like you, me knowing all the skills that you have, the fact that you can cut hair, you can work on cars. I mean, you can build anything. You build out shelves, you just want to build everything, the beds. I mean, everything. And so you are a walking tradesman. And
right.
so sometimes even in that, like, I think that degrees are sometimes too forced into people's space.
Yeah,
It's too like, eat this degree, go to school and do that. And I understand that. But if you have students and you have children who are gifted and they can
right.
use their hands in some aspect, like, we say that now, like with Emerson, because we're noticing just
Right,
different
right.
characteristics for him. And it's just like, if he wants to go to college, he can, like, but hopefully, if he wants to go into some type of specialized trade or something, like, we are all for
Right.
it, all for it.
I'm gonna tell you the craziest thing that happened to me. So back when I first started school, the average engineer made about $60,000, right?
Mhm.
So I had this go-kart that I was selling at the time. And of course I was cutting hair or whatever. So I was really passionate about that too. But that led to a whole different other thing. I think that's kind of like where Guy's a perfumer, and I'll get back to that
Yes.
probably at a later point in the segment. But it just so happens that the guy that's coming up to the house to buy the go-kart, he's actually a barber. So, I start talking like, what do you do? How does your day-to-day functions work? I'm just curious because I want to know, like, what does this profession look like? Because I remember telling my cousin about like in the future, like after I retire and get finished with engineering, I'm gonna just go cut hair. Like that's what I'm gonna
Right.
do. I never knew like the full salary. I thought it was gonna be like, $30,000 or something like that. So it's just like, it's a little easy money. Man, this man told me that he worked at the fire department just for his insurance. He said, but I cut hair. He said, as I cut hair, I've made $60,000 just cutting hair. So, and I'm like, what? Like, wait a minute. Like, you made how much cutting hair? He's like, yeah, I made $60,000 a year cutting hair. So it's like people think and look down on trades, but it's like it's all this capital that's out there that's going unseen And people, got your nose up because I want to be an engineer or I want to go and do this. But it's like it's easy money that's out here. Like I agree with Steve Harvey when he says like the multiplication of tens. Like you got tens, hundreds, thousands, and that stuff just adds up so quick that it doesn't, it doesn't go anywhere. But then like even for myself, there was a time period where I didn't have a job and I was in the transition or whatever, and I had to cut hair. So I'm cutting hair like every day. I would probably come home. I would cut hair probably 2 days and make $300. But I would only go there from like 12 to 5.
Right.
So I'm in the process of going through my engineering degree or whatever. And I was talking to my engineering teacher. And he's like, you should stop what you're doing and look to go get a job. Look to go get a job in engineering. So I'm like, okay, yeah, let me pursue that and try to switch over. And this is probably one of the biggest mistakes that I made in my life was switching over, because I gave away my freedom of being an entrepreneur in that season to go and work for somebody else and to go back to their constraints of, well, this is what you should do. And this is like for stable money versus if I just waited the process out to go through the whole thing and say, all right, and see where it matured to. What I'm going back to in that. So I get an engineering job or whatever, and they're paying me about $25 an hour. But when I did the numbers, I'm basically making the same thing in 5 hours cutting hair.
Right.
Versus coming over here working 40 hours plus a week.
Right. And that's the crazy part, because I'm a firm believer. It's not that people can't speak to entrepreneurs if they're not entrepreneurs, but I do believe that it's hard to receive information from people who are not walking it out. Yeah. And so if you've always, worked for someone, it's hard to, for an entrepreneur to really listen and take heed to that advice, because it's like, this is a foreign world. How can you really speak to it? I think that's one of the things that I feel like that people do is, as far as like when you are different, because even when I'm looking at different as someone who's a creative, someone who doesn't want to be just, they want to be their own original. They want to be their own creator. They want to pursue their own dreams and do it in an untraditional way. And there's ways to do this. And it's not to say that going the corporate route is not, you have to map that out too, just like you would map out an entrepreneur. And I'm not shunning or I'm not looking down on people who work in corporate by any means. Right. But there is a different, I feel like, mindset. There's different characteristics, as you hear me saying different a lot. There's a lot of different things that you experience. And so, it's hard, because if you have someone over here that's talking about, oh, well, I've, worked at my job for 30 plus years, it's hard for us, to see that, for us to work for someone for that long. But I feel like they're the ones who are really paving the way for us to be able to walk in this freedom that we have.
Right. Trying to think, there's so much meat in that. I just want to break it all apart. I think COVID gave people the closest experience they'll ever get if they never take another step towards entrepreneurship. COVID gave them the best experience of that, because they were able to see what they really could do with their free time, how they could spend it with their family, how they could spend it with their friends, where they could go, even though you're stuck in the house, but you could start the research and you're getting a check while you're sitting at home. Like, but like, I feel like COVID gave people the best experience, or the closest taste of entrepreneurship. And it's not really even the entrepreneurship that I fell in love with. It's the freedom. It's the freedom of being able to say, I go to bed when I want to, I wake up when I want to. But you have to have that inner drive that says, like, if I don't get up, I don't eat. And that's the thing about it. Like, you have to be disciplined as well as structured enough to be able to manage that. Some people can't handle that. So a job is good for them. Other
Yeah.
people, like when it's innately in you, they can go and they don't need it. Like I think for me, suppression. I think that's one of the biggest things that I've been feeling lately. It's just realizing like I don't want to be suppressed by somebody else. Like
Yeah.
it's like night and day. So when I go to my job, I feel suppressed. But when I come over here and work for myself, I'm free as a bird. Like and it's
Yeah.
something that I love to do. And every time I get in a piece of machine, like I always take a picture. Like that's just my little thing. But I take that picture to say like as long as I'm doing this and I'm smiling, I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep on rocking with it because it's like this is me being free and it's me doing what I love to do and enjoying what I love to do. So I think a lot of people they always miss that, when they're trying to do it. And I think the struggle, yeah, you're gonna run into those when you're chasing after entrepreneurship. But I think you have to have like some thick skin just to be able
Yeah.
to say I'm gonna get some bumps and bruises or whatever. And I think that rejection that we were talking about earlier and that being different, all of that
Right.
stuff made it very easy for me to like handle those bumps and bruises a lot more. Because if you're
Mm.
already feeling rejection at an early age, like what 5, 6, 10, somewhere between 5, 6 and
Yeah.
your adolescent years, you're feeling all of that rejection. But now when
Right.
you go do a quote and it's like, I'm sorry, we don't want your services or something like that, it doesn't phase you. Like you just okay, whatever,
Talk
keep
about it.
pushing. Or either like okay, it's taking me a little bit longer to get here. I don't have the money. Like it doesn't bother you. You know, man. You just keep
Yeah.
pushing past it, and it does. It's like water over a duck's back at the end of the day. So that's
Yeah.
the part where I say like God is a magnificent perfumer because it's like
Mm.
for me like as I've been like reflecting over my past and all the things that have gotten me to this point. Like I'm thinking about myself like as a child. Like I'm in the backyard playing with this same equipment that I'm over here working with now, and it's just like and it's mind blowing to me because it's like this is stuff that I did as a kid that I never
Yeah.
even like envisioned doing as an adult. I wanted to do it as a kid, but somewhere along the path, you kind of get disconnected from what your
Yeah.
purpose and your assignments are.
Right. And I think, oh man, golly, that's so good.
Too long.
That's so good. I honestly, I felt the Holy Spirit on that because I think that is how God wants us to be in position as children and for us to enjoy what we do. I do not feel that the God that we serve wants us to feel miserable every day when we wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
I believe that the God that we serve wants us to be happy. He wants us to go out
Right.
here and enhance our communities. He wants us
Right.
to go out and show people what the true love and
Right.
experience of God's grace really is, and how
Yeah.
can we share that grace and that love and that purity that God really has for us if we're always mentally bound by,
Yeah.
poverty. If we're always
Right.
constantly worrying about where our next meal is going to come from, if we're constantly thinking about where is the money going to come from for me to pay this bill.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that God is a perfect perfumer. He uses every experience
Yeah.
that we have.
Yeah.
He brings it, he puts it in the melting pot and says, because sometimes we don't see that and we don't understand that. I think even for my own process, babe, like, you were there to see me going from job to job to
Right. Right.
career to
Right.
career. And I'm just like, I'm going to find it. I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And who's to say and who's to know that God literally was grooming me to become
Yeah.
a career coach?
Right.
Because I don't walk in all these careers. I don't
Right.
try to figure it out.
Right.
God is a perfumer. You're right, babe.
Right. I think the biggest thing that I took away from 2020 um, is the world is waiting on you to show up.
Oh,
So you
that's
need to
good.
hurry up and get there. So it's like, we can't keep sitting, man. It's like the man with all the talents. Like you can't keep sitting there with all them talents and do nothing. I remember 2021, January, I prayed for an opportunity to use every single one of my talents. So before
Yes.
COVID even hit, like I had went through at least 2 or 3 of them. And I was like,
Yeah.
it was still that one as far as like new venture that I was waiting on. So I'm
Mhm.
sitting there like, I remember I prayed all of 2019 just to get an opportunity to use the equipment. Like I
Yeah.
prayed for a whole year straight, and it took a doggone tornado to hit my grandmother's house for me to use
That's
his
good.
equipment just to get a peace of mind to say, is this something that I really want to do?
Right.
So it's just that place of being okay with saying, I need to show up. I want to show up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show up. And going
Right.
through all those different intervals and finally like, all right, I'm here. And then sometimes you get there and like, all right, what I do?
Yeah.
And then that's when
And
you step back and just let God just go.
and that's what I was gonna say. Like, I think sometimes there's too much pressure on wanting to perfect and plan everything out.
Yeah.
And that doesn't require faith.
Yeah.
Like, our faith has to grow as we are going through our experiences.
Yeah.
So when we take a leap of faith, when we take a step, our faith is supposed to meet God there. And my faith meeting God there means, Lord, I don't know what my next step is. That means that I need to walk in this. And Lord, I need you to come and step. I need you to order every step of mine. I need you to show me where I'm going. What should I do? What should I say? And I think that
Yeah.
is the purest form of obedience that we can have.
Yeah. It is. It is. I think it's also what keeps us on track because it's like, even as you're going through that, like you're having to humble yourself because you never want to get ahead of yourself. So you're like,
Mm,
all right, Lord, what do I need to do on this day? What do I need to do on that day? Because I'm not
right.
sure what's in front of me, but you know what's there. So I'm gonna just,
Yeah.
I'm gonna just like you find rest, like Tony, like Pastor Tony be saying all the time. Like
Yeah.
we can get into that place of obedience, we can just sit down and just say, like, Lord, use me. But when I'm in
Yeah.
his love and in his vein, like I'm in rest, so I don't have to work for anything. I don't have to sit here and try
That's
to
it.
like stretch my mind. And you know how I'm super analytical. Like
Yes.
I'm like I'm so analytical. I think about everything and I'm extremely cautious. And
Yeah.
it's like you never can move. Like you
That's
can't
it.
take two steps because you're like, well, what do I do if I do that? What like
Right.
all of that's because of rejection, but it
Mhm.
helps me at the same time because when I have to go into problem solving mode, it's easy for
Right.
me to like, all right, Lord, what do I need to do first?
Right.
Then it just straight
It
down.
falls in. It
Yeah,
is. I think that this conversation is beautiful because it allows people to see a full spectrum of how God uses the things that we are exposed to very, very
right.
early, and how a lot of times he really just brings us right back to it.
Yeah,
He really does.
yeah,
Just walking in this, because, and this is just a shift just a little bit, not a lot.
yeah.
But for us, even in marriage, like, you walk through things,
Hmm.
and your storms, and sometimes you don't know how God is going to use those very battles that you may be dealing with, and how the Lord just literally brings them right back, as
Yeah,
to show you, like, listen, the reason why you went through this is so that when you're sitting with this couple, or you're talking to this
yeah,
person that you're coaching, or this person that you're going out, you're meeting, when you're going out to do estimates and stuff like that, those very people who may be on the verge or on the brink of, I don't really know about this, and we don't really know how we're going to go in business. We don't know,
yeah,
how our marriage is truly doing, like, to where we can be literally
yeah,
just a vessel to be used in God's kingdom.
yeah. And then those same people, like you can sit there and be like sitting on all your gifts, and they'll tell you,
That
go, like go, shoot,
no,
like
right?
go. You need to be in go mode, like and they give you that little oomph that you need,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
And it's even crazier because like I'll go back to like high school. I'm in my machine tool class or whatever. I would have never known that that instructor would be a mentor now today, but also be in the same field that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? Or
right,
either,
right.
or even like one of my big brothers that I only have one big brother at this point. It's not fraternal or anything like that. But I call him my big brother because it's like the way that he looked out for me is like completely different than I've ever seen any other guy do that for me. So it's like
Mhm.
I would never know that I'd be working on a project with him. So it's
Right,
like you never know the interactions that you're getting on a day-to-day basis are the people that are pulling and are pouring into you in different ways, but you're
right.
thankful for them. And it's so important not to burn bridges as you're growing, as you're going. Excuse
Man. Yes, and I think, oh, that's so good, because I feel like, even in this season, we have these conversations about, healthy relationships,
Yeah,
divine connections, and when seasons are up with people, to leave gracefully. We
yeah,
don't have to leave abruptly. We don't have to, if we're not in a season to where we need to be connected to those people in this season to have literally a crucial conversation to say, right now, it's just not a good time for me to be connected, and be okay with that. And be
Right.
okay with it. I think whenever we approach hard conversations in the wrong way, or we try to just abruptly like, oh, I'm done and I'm out, like it creates so much more. And I don't believe that God enjoys, us dealing with relationships like that. I remember Dr. Darius Daniels, he teaches on relational intelligence, and that's what it is. It's us showing people love and showing people, how to handle, like,
Right.
sometimes just hard conversations,
Right.
and we doing them out of love.
Yeah. I think even that book that we were reading, Crucial Conversations, like that
Yeah.
helped us so much in our communication styles because they're two totally different styles.
Oh yeah, we on
But
two different
but
spectrums, babe.
but even when it comes down to having to talk to people that are in positions that are higher than you, or talking to your
Yeah.
customers, because even like it's having the same mindset. Like your boss is still your customer at the end of the day, and you just have
Yeah.
to, when you're in entrepreneurship, you just have to be able to flip that and connect it.
With it.
But there's certain things that you're gonna have to just communicate, and
Yeah.
some things can rub you the wrong way, and you can lose your cool, or you can keep your cool. But
Yeah.
it's how do you transform this conversation and say what you need to say? What do I
Right.
want to say? How do I
Right.
need to say it? And am I
Yeah.
okay with saying it? What is the end result that I want to give to this person, and being in control of
Right.
that? It's all the little things that you can control when you're talking.
That's it. It's our tone. It's
Yeah,
our
that too.
body language. Yeah. It's all of those things. Like, even when I used to teach the class at Upstate Fatherhood, and we taught that your words only make up 10% of what you're saying.
Yep.
10%. Your body language and your tone is everything in what you say. And I think like that is, yeah, babe, I gotta put you on the spot. Your tone used to be so rough.
It was. It
Oh,
was.
it used to be
I mean, if
so
you knew the
rough.
type of people, if you had to deal with these A personality type people, like on the like they can't see it. Oh my goodness. You have to realize, like, some people they just don't get it. And I just got checked on this last week. Like
Yeah.
the way my mind works is I process things so quick. So it's like I'm
Yeah.
seeing things, but as I'm seeing them, I'm also problem solving it at the same time. And
Right.
me communicating that is horrible. So it's like
Yeah.
I already have a problem. I already had a solution. I see the problem. Let me communicate it. Nah, bro, you can't do that. That you're struggling there. Like it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, why are you not getting this? So it just be a little frustrating. But I'm
Yeah.
working on it.
No, I think you're doing a fantabulous job. I really do. And I think that one thing that we don't look at sometimes as we're pursuing in relationships, we're pursuing, in careers and business, just in everything,
Yeah,
is our own self discovery.
yeah, yeah,
Man, when I tell you, I feel like, and I say this all the time, I feel like my life was genuinely and truly saved, of course, when I got saved,
yeah,
but more so when the Lord started showing me, and
yeah,
I can receive it.
yeah,
I can
yeah,
receive it, because sometimes I think it's hard when people, when they hear about themselves, or the Lord starts to show them, who they
yeah, yeah,
truly are,
yeah,
and they begin to just reject it. It's like reject, reject, reject. But it's like, this is how we grow.
yeah,
We grow in that place when God is like showing and revealing to us who we really, it's that self-discovery that allows us to, I feel like personally, go to the next level. This is an open and clear mind, because it's hard for God to use us at the next level
yeah,
if we are so restricted and bound to
yeah,
ourselves. We're
exactly.
always doing that. I feel like, we a lot of times we have very self-sabotaging ways. We think
Yeah,
very irrational, especially for women. Like, we're very emotional. So, one or two
men are
things can
too.
take us off for the day, and it just, it shifts us. Yeah, yeah. Men can be very, yeah. That's very true. And it is, it's one of those things to where we have to learn, first and foremost, let me deal with myself.
Yeah,
How do I grow in this? How do I become a better person myself? And you have to genuinely want that and walk through that process.
yep. That's it.
Yeah.
It right there, boo boo.
That but so this is I feel like a very good and genuine conversation. Does anybody have any questions? I always wait for a second.
You got to give the
Yeah.
people what they want.
Yeah. I think you've done a phenomenal job on here, babe. I really do. I think
Appreciate
that,
it.
yeah, this conversation is
I'm
long
doing pretty
overdue.
good for a shy guy.
You're doing fantabulous.
That's the most I ever talk.
Yes. Yeah, and you did a very great job. You did a very great job. I think one of the things that I was going to say before we logged off was just to encourage those who have businesses. You're young professionals, you're doing it, you're seeking it. I always have to give honor, of course, to God, but more so to you, babe, because like you allow the space for me to shine and do what I do. Like I'm not like probably a lot of other women who, you know, are having trouble navigating the conversation of, you know, of becoming a full-time entrepreneur, mom, and all of that stuff. But you have done, I feel like, a phenomenal job at creating a safe space for me to do and walk in what God has called me to do. And I thank you for that. So I thank you all the time, like here, but it just seemed right and just appropriate to thank you publicly because I just love and adore you for that and just what you represent for our family and what you are doing for our family. And daily you sacrifice, daily, you come home, of course, then people getting on your nerves, but I just speak always so much life into your business and just knowing that God is getting ready to like blow your mind because of your obedience. And so I just constantly thank you. And I just had to say that, of course, publicly, and that I love you.
I appreciate that. I feel like, if one of us get out first, it don't matter who it is, the other one will
Right.
get out. So if you get
That
out,
that
then I can get out too. I'm right behind you. So
Yeah. And that's
that's just
I
my
think
mindset.
that was the goal. It was always the goal to say it doesn't matter who goes first. Just when you go and you kill it. So that way the other person can come too.
Um, yeah, I was thinking about this thing. One of my cousins had posted a while ago. It was about
Mhm.
wolves. Like you don't see wolves. Most people think that like an alpha wolf leads from the front, but the actual alpha wolf is actually in the back of the pack. So
I can
it's
believe that.
more of a perspective that wolf can see
Mhm.
things and guide certain things at the same time. Not to say like you
Yeah.
got to go out and you gotta what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say forge, but I don't think that's the right word. But basically
Mhm.
lead the way. But it's like like I can see things from a different perspective where you may be just running straight forward. You know,
Right.
it's being cool and confident in that.
Yeah.
We got everything we need to. I feel like it's something that we need to talk about.
It
I just don't
is.
know what it is. I feel like there's something that's untouched.
Well, you go for it, babe. It's your show. It's your party.
Well, I was hoping you was gonna help me get there.
Well, I am helping you, but guess what? I don't remember what it was.
Lord will give it to you.
Yes, he will.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Okay.
It's being able to recognize your gift.
Yes.
And
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah. We
think
can't live. Yeah.
I think being able to recognize your gift, to be honest, most people will see your gift before you do.
Hmm.
And I
Agreed.
think that's the toughest thing because they'll want to use your gift. And it's kind of like how Mr. Harper was saying, oh, you got this deep voice and da 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 da.
Right.
Like people
Right.
want to put you somewhere. So it's kind of like the conversation we just had a few minutes ago about how
Yeah.
people only want to put you where they want to put you. But it's the same
Yeah.
way with your gift. Like people see, like most of the times, like people that are in opposition of you, they see your gift before you even see your gift
Yeah.
or can even exercise your gift to its full extent. So
Yeah.
it's really important to go figure out what your gift is and make
Hmm.
sure that you're always. I like what TJ said as far as like making sure that you're always trying to be a solution to a problem in the earth.
That's
And
it.
once
Yeah.
you do that, like you said,
Yeah. And I think that even in, identifying your gifts, it's also not, once you identify it, don't let people try to shrink you and put you in those boxes. I feel like a lot of people say that, but there's practical things that I think about. I think about when I'm working for someone and I am constantly being rejected for roles that I know I will excel very well in, because they match my skill set and they match exactly what I have experience in. It's like kind of like these no-brainers. You know what I'm saying? It's like these no-brainers. I am
Come
a
in.
non
Look, I'm like, please tap me in, tap me in.
I'm a no
Look at this.
nonsense.
Yeah.
I am a no nonsense when it comes down to my gift and how I'm able to use it to help other people's organizations. And so when people try to diminish that and try to keep me, I don't like that. It feels too suffocating, and I'm like, I can't. And I
Yeah, you out
always,
there.
and I always pray, Lord, don't allow me to make a immature or premature decision.
Yep.
So if it's not in your will for me to be here, remove me. I'm not gonna do it myself. You have to do it, Lord. If my time is up, and every single time
Single
I've prayed
time.
that prayer,
Yeah,
you're my
I'm leaving
witness,
my
babe.
job today. All right. I know your time is up. But to be honest, I think there's also another perspective of that too, is people that sit in a room and they know the answers. And like that right there is the toughest
Ooh,
thing for some
yeah,
people, myself.
yeah,
When you sit in a room and you have an understanding on how a lot, again, that mind that can see things, problem solve real quick,
yeah,
but you sit there and you hold it. And I remember I had this math teacher. She was like, does anybody have an answer? And she went through about 15, 20 minutes. I already saw the answer in my head. But she's like, you're going to sit here and make us wait 15 or 20 minutes. And you had this
right,
answer 2 to 3 minutes ago. Like, why didn't you
right,
just give it? But it's that place to where you don't want to be an a-hole or a butthead, because
mhm,
you don't want to be that guy, that
right,
pretentious guy that's always giving an answer or doesn't know, and it's because you don't necessarily know how to give it or how to
right,
project it the right way. But it's okay to just sit in that and know who you are and
yeah,
know what you know. Like, it's okay to have that confidence to say, you know
yeah,
what, I mean, Jesus did it. Like, he knew
right,
who he was, and he was very clear on letting you know, I know who I am and what I'm here to do. So
right.
it's okay to be that. You know,
That's
if
it.
you have special gifts, be confident in that and be able to
Yeah,
walk in that and just be cool with that. Everything,
right.
you don't have to answer to everything or do everything in a rude way, because I think time can allow you to say, well, I want to give an answer this way or communicate it the correct way. But you still should say it, because what you're doing is you're adding value at the end of the day.
That's it.
You're
That's it.
here on the earth to add value. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
Right. And I tell my students that all the time. I don't care if you are going to look like a nerd, sound like a nerd, or whatever you may look at it, however, whatever perspective. But I tell you one thing, Albert Einstein, who these
Yep.
followers, people who follow people who Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Oprah, all of these professionals that everyone follows, and they are so consumed with their stories. They didn't allow anybody else, especially Bill Gates. He is a engineer. He's a scientist. He's a mathematical genius. And so when we look at, can you imagine how many people used to call him a nerd? Now
I
he's a
don't even,
billionaire
it's not
nerd.
even the nerd part. It's the butthead part, to where I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure like he is that person that's giving an answer to everything, that's getting on
Everything.
people's nerves. But it's
Right.
okay, because at the end of the day, I'm Bill Gates.
That
I may not know
and
it now,
that's
but somewhere down the line, I'm Bill Gates. And that's the
yeah.
reason why I did it. And I'm okay. I'm Jesus. Like, this is Jesus. We didn't know who Jesus was, and he didn't have to go around saying it, but he let you know, I'm the Messiah.
Right, right. That's it. That's it. So before we
Look,
even log off, do you have anything else to say, babe? I think that is an awesome way to close it out. It's just to tell people, be confident in who you are.
yeah.
Don't dim your light. Show up and show out. I do it every time. I literally, babe, you're my witness. What do I say? I'm not gonna. I say my affirmations before I even get on here for live. And it's right now it's only a few of you, but I'm praying the Lord grows it. But I get on here. every single Tuesday I walk and I say, I will not shrink. Lord, I'm showing up today. I'm going to be present. I'm going to be full today. Lord, you're going to give me everything I need to say. It's going to flow. I say these. Do I not, babe?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do. And I believe that. So I'm not afraid of, who God created me to be. And that's what I'm hoping that this conversation has helped many of you who are listening to not dim your light, to know that you are different, that you are called to greater heights, and that God wants to use it. He wants to solve a problem. He wants to partner with you here in the earth. And so this is your open opportunity to go out and do exactly what God is calling you to do, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but today.
And it's okay to transition, it's okay.
Yes.
Like, people don't have to know why you're doing it or when you're doing it. Just do it and be in obedience in doing it. Like, I swear to God, I feel like that's the best thing that ever happened to me, was getting stuck in the mud, because it brought me back to being a child, to where I can say, man, I love doing this. So that's what I'm about to do. This.
Right. I love it. I love it. Yeah. This allows us to walk in the fullness. Oh man, so many comments. I said we can't let the insecurities of others make us insecure. That's it. That's it, Tip. That's it.
Yep.
Jonathan, wow, this was so me. I'm afraid to speak out sometime, but I know that I know what I'm talking about. But then I look at crazy. My social style is expressive. That's on Pam. Oh, that's good.
Hey on, Pam.
Right.
Authentically 100% you.
Right. And I think sometimes, you'll be afraid, like, man, people are not going to receive this the way it should be received, but you know the answer. Say it. Say it. Be you. I love it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation. We have enjoyed it. I have definitely enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
Oh man, I thank you so much for just breaking me out of my shell. And to be honest, it was a complete honor to be on here. I'm so glad you got me. To be honest, like, full transparency, when I got on here, when you asked me about it the first time, I said, I'm not ready.
You did.
And the only way that I knew I was ready was we came home. After I said that, I was like, I'm not ready. And God started giving me all these different questions that you could ask. And I'm like, I'm having these little conversations with myself. And I got home and it was the same exact conversations that he had told me earlier in the day. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and just take my answer back. I'm ready. Go ahead, put me on here. However we gotta make this happen, we're gonna do it. But it was truly an honor to do this with you.
Thank you, babe. I appreciate it. Hopefully, I know that guests will see more of you. We'll have some more segments. And then we're going to be talking about some marriage stuff, hopefully. And excited to, are you going to let them know what you get ready to do, babe? Are you going to wait?
I'm going to wait.
Oh, he going to wait to give you guys his announcement then. Well, he's confused.
Because I don't know what you're talking about.
I know you don't. Man, you was looking like, what is she talking about?
What is she talking about?
Well, we live, so you'll announce it later.
I'll announce it when I get revelation of what it is.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It is Cierra G. Wiles checking in, your trend-setting coach, helping you guys make better career decisions. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Please, if you're here catching the replay, leave us some hearts, leave us some thumbs ups. Make sure you're subscribing, you're sharing, you're helping us spread the content, spread the love, making sure that you guys are showing up and showing out. That is this segment. Baby, do you have anything else for the people?
The only thing I can say is please check out New Ventures page. Right now we're doing 10% off of any of the services after you subscribe to the email list.
Yes. So make sure you guys subscribe. I'm getting ready to drop that link right now. So I am appreciative of all of you who took time to come and hear this conversation. And we out of this piece.
Peace.
Deuces.